my beloved child. Before you blame yourself because yet another door has closed, stop for a moment and hear me clearly. Not every no in your life is rejection, and not every door that does not open is a sign that I have turned my back. There are paths that look bright, yet inside them are things that would break the bones of your faith. And in the very moment when your hand slips on a handle that will not turn, I am standing there with my arms stretched out as a shield between you and the danger you cannot yet recognize. Here is the first truth you must carve into your heart when a door shuts in front of you. It is not my punishment, it is the shield I pull up to protect the deepest part of your trust from shattering. You have looked at closed doors as verdicts, as declarations that you are not good enough, not worthy, not chosen. But in the invisible realm, every time your hand touches a handle that will not move, I'm standing on the other side, using my own body to block what your eyes are not trained to see. You wanted to enter because all you could see was the shining surface, while I saw what was lurking inside, waiting for the moment you dropped your guard. You called it failure, but I called it a timely withdrawal. You thought you were being excluded from opportunity, but I was pulling you out of a space that would suffocate your spiritual breath. The door was not a wall I built to push you away. It was a shield I raised to catch the arrows aimed at your soul. Every time you hear the sound of a latch refusing to open, know that behind that sound is my voice saying, "Enough," to things that do not deserve to touch your future. I know there have been seasons when you looked around and saw only corridors with no exits, one blocked path after another, and you mistook it as proof that I had stopped listening to your prayers. You heard other people tell stories of sudden openings, breakthroughs, quick answers, while all you could remember were the long days of knocking on the same place and hearing only silence. There were nights you stood before the door of a relationship, an opportunity, a plan you believed would make everything brighter, and your chest tightened when it remained still, as if it had never heard your knocking. You whispered to yourself that surely something was wrong with you. Surely I was displeased. Surely I was taking away a chance because you had failed somehow. But child, while you stood there staring only at the surface of the door, I went through the wall of time and saw the road beyond. I saw the traps covered in velvet, the sweet promises that were hollow, the whirlwinds that could pull you away from the center of my presence. I felt the tremble of your prayers, but I loved you enough to let you misunderstand me for a moment, as long as your soul would not be handed over to things that would crush the hope I am building in you. A closed door is not evidence of my rejection, it is proof that I am standing guard. Imagine a city in the cold wind, where the air carries dust and sand into every alley, and the gatekeepers must decide when to close the gates. The children inside may be frustrated because they cannot run to the fields like before. They may think the gatekeepers are stealing their freedom, but only those on the walls can feel the wind shift, see the dust clouds forming, and hear the storm howling in the distance. I am that gatekeeper for your soul. There are moments that look ideal, when everyone around you cries out that this is a golden opportunity, that you will regret missing it, that only a fool would refuse. You stand before the gate with passion, with logical calculations, with perfectly reasonable arguments. But I sense the toxic wind slipping between the invitations. I see clearly what would happen to your heart if you stepped through that threshold. Perhaps it would be soothed for a moment by validation, but then eroded by compromise. Perhaps it would be satisfied briefly, but the cost would be a deep fracture that would take you years to heal. So I pull the door shut not to shame you, but to keep the deepest part of you from being covered in harmful wind. Doors closed by my hand are never mere endings. They are always redirections. You have blamed yourself for the applications not accepted, the calls not returned, the proposals declined, the circles you were never invited into, as if every no was written across your forehead to declare you inferior. You have tied your worth to people's responses, to the approval of systems, to whether you were chosen or overlooked in earthly games. But I need you to know something very different when I let a door close. I am not lowering your value. I am protecting it from places that would use it, distort it, and discard it when no longer convenient. There are tables I will not let you sit at, because beneath the elegance are conversations that would infect your mind with a quiet cynicism toward me. There are groups I keep distant from you, not because you are less than them, but because you do not belong to the atmosphere they cultivate. If I let you in, you would shrink yourself, dim your light, adjust your voice, pack away your truest parts just to be called acceptable. That is not my intention for you. So I closed the door, and while you thought you were being excluded, I was keeping you for a space where you would not have to bury the essence I placed inside you. I know that when the door shuts, your heart drops a little, your head lowers, your shoulders feel heavier, and the familiar questions return. What did I do wrong? Why is everything always harder for me? Why do others walk through so easily while I am always stopped? You compare your steps with others, measure your timing against their timeline, and conclude that I have favored them more than you. You do not see that in the very places you feel held back. My hand is pressing firmly on your shoulder to keep you from running toward the edge of a cliff. You look only at what you were not allowed to enter, but I look at what you were not swallowed by. You tremble every time you are slowed, but I smile gently because I know there are burdens you will never have to carry, wounds you will never have to unwind, simply because I pulled you back on that day. One day, as you walk the road I have truly prepared for you, you will look back at the doors that once made you weep and see them shining like shields, not judgments. And then you will know that I was faithful to you even when my way of protecting you made you misunderstand me. Therefore, my child, I invite you to loosen your grip on handles that have grown cold, to stop knocking on entrances where I placed a period long ago, not because you were unworthy, but because what was inside was unworthy of you. I want to teach you a new reflex instead of instantly accusing yourself every time a door closes. Pause, take a deep breath, and ask me, Lord, what are you protecting me from? When you change the question, the atmosphere inside your heart changes as well. Your chest will feel lighter when you realize you are not being judged, but shielded. I do not ask you to pretend you are not sad or disappointed. I simply ask that you do not let those feelings become evidence against my goodness. Let me lead you out of the dead ends you drew for yourself, that I may walk you along the city wall and show you the broken arrows lodged in the shield called closed door. Then, confusion will give way to quiet wonder. You will begin to see my word not only on open doors, but also on the no vacancy signs of this world. And in that moment, a gentle space will open in your chest, just wide enough for me to pour in a new confidence that no door closed by my hand ever fails to hide a protection meant for you. When you stop and begin to look at a shut door differently, the next thing to understand is this: no door closes because of randomness or luck. Every time a hinge trembles, every time a handle refuses to turn, it begins from a loving decision you did not hear, but I heard. The surface of the event is very quiet, yet beneath it there is a movement of a shield, a shift in the direction of wind, a stored warmth kept in the hearth. You only sense the visible part: rejection, silence, an opportunity passing. I sense the invisible cold wind slipping under the doorframe, damp air from a storm on the porch, the unsteady leg of a chair you were about to sit on. There are sounds your ears cannot hear, but I hear them with clarity. You do not hear the layering of anxieties that would crush your chest if you stepped into that room. You do not hear the tiny cracking in your heart that would occur if you put your hope in promises that were only beautiful on the surface. You do not hear the wood fibers of the bridge rotting beneath the water, though you were preparing to cross it. But I hear. I do not hear only with ears, I hear with the understanding that has watched many seasons before you were born. In love, I choose to stand at the threshold and place my hand upon it, refusing to let darkness slip into your house. This is not rejection, this is guardianship. Because you cannot see the context. Every closed door makes you feel abandoned. That feeling grows from comparison. Others enter. Why must I remain outside? Others are accepted. Why do I receive only silence? Others are invited. Why is my name not called? But the truth is, not every invitation comes from me, and not every crowd is where you belong. Many tables look warm from a distance, yet one wrong draft through an open window will chill the whole house. I do not want you to lose yourself merely to sit in a chair that was not appointed for you. So instead of letting you compromise with every call, I keep you next to my fireplace. In that warm room, a small fire still burns, not loud, but steady. The wood crackles softly. Golden light touches every corner. The peace here is not showy, but deep. You once thought such peace was dull, lacking intensity. But in truth, this gentleness is what keeps your soul from being torn apart by the winds outside. My protection does not always come in the shape of brilliant miracles. Sometimes it is no more than a latch pulled shut at the right moment. No one photographs that moment. No one retells it as a triumph. Yet it saves you from more than you will ever know. When the night wind blows down the corridor, those who are not guarding the door will not notice. They hear the wind as nothing more than a natural song of the sky. But the one at the door senses the change in every faint whistle, knowing that a storm is forming. My love is like that watchfulness, not showy, not noisy, yet alert to every detail. I guard the door not because I fear your pain, but because you carry something precious that must be preserved. A small flame can warm a whole house, but it can be extinguished easily if the door opens when the wrong wind passes. There are nights when you stand at the door, your hand on the handle, thinking, if I plead a little more, maybe it will open. You have tried. You have waited. You have believed that with just a little more faith, a little more persistence, what you want will happen. But you did not know that just beyond that door there is a place with no ground. If you stepped in, you would fall. If you stepped in, you would pay with your peace. And you would convince yourself that price was part of the blessing. But true blessing does not drain your soul. True blessing lifts you. It does not consume you. This is why I close. One more thing you must know: I do not enjoy seeing you sad. I do not enjoy seeing your shoulders drop when a door stays shut. My love is not cruel, yet I am willing to endure the moment you misunderstand me. As long as you remain safe, I am willing to stay silent to keep you from the storm. I am willing to let you think I am slow. If it means you will not run into the cold night, I am willing for you to ask, why, as long as you do not lose yourself. True love sometimes takes the shape of holding you back. Like a father who places his hand on the door when a child is about to run outside just as the wind rises. The child will not understand at once, may be frustrated, may cry, but the Father understands the wind. Remember this every time you feel held back. I am not standing far. I am close, right at the door you think is barring you. I stand there, my back toward the storm, my face toward you. I am not closing you out, I am closing the wind out. When you begin to see this, your heart will soften, bitterness will dissolve, and the sense of abandonment will lose its voice. You will feel a different warmth, not from explanations, but from presence. You will realize that I am not keeping you in a hallway alone. I am keeping you near the fire. And from this very warmth, from this hearth you once mistook for confinement, I will lead you out at the right time. Not earlier, not later. When the night winds have settled, when you are stronger, when the dangerous invitations have passed, I will open the door with my own hand. Then you will not tremble as you step through. You will not lose yourself to be accepted. You will step out as someone who knows where they belong. And you will understand the doors that closed before were never against you, they were for you. Moving into this, you must face a truth that may not be pleasant to hear, yet will free your soul if I did not close the door. You would walk straight into things that look beautiful but carry poison. Not everything that glitters is a blessing, and not every welcoming smile is safe. There are fruits that appear ruby red in sunlight, skins smooth and fragrant, yet within them is decay. One bite and the bitterness spreads across your mouth, deceiving your senses. Deception never arrives in ugly form, it arrives in beauty. That story is ancient. Ever since the garden, when a fruit that seemed good for food, delightful to the eyes, and desirable to make one wise, became the open gate to shattering. I did not shape you to relive the wound of Genesis 3. And so I place my hand on the hinge before you mistake it for good fruit. The most dangerous thing for the soul is not obvious evil, but what is half true and half false. There are relationships that sound loving, yet their rhythm slowly drains you. There are opportunities that look heaven-sent, but the moment you step into them, you pay with your peace. You have walked down roads sprinkled with flowers, only to discover a cliff veiled in mist at the end, invisible until your foot reached the edge. You have seen grand gates opened wide, but the ground inside was sand, and one gust of wind made everything collapse. That is why I stand at the threshold and close them, not because you are unworthy, but because you are worthy of what is real, not what is false. When I close, it is because I see the core while you see only the polished surface. There have been seasons when you brought something beautiful before me and asked, "Why is this not allowed? It is good. It is wholesome. I want it." I heard every word. Yet my love does not allow me to give you everything that soothes your longing. Love is not giving you everything you like. Love is shielding you from paying with your soul. I hear the call of the counterfeit before you hear it. I smell the poison hidden in the breeze before it touches your skin. I know when a promise is about to become a burden. I know when a smile will become a chain. I know when outward beauty hides a fracture on the inside. That is why I close the door without asking your permission. For protection does not need negotiation. You have stepped into rooms that looked like celebrations, yet within hours you left with a heart heavy as stone. You have believed that something beautiful was a sign of my blessing, only to discover a nameless weariness clinging to you for days. You have loved deeply, only to realize you were the only one keeping the flame. These experiences are not meant to harden you, but to teach you how to distinguish appearance from essence. The counterfeit always knows how to adorn itself. Poison always comes with a sweet smell. No one offers you bitter medicine in an ugly cup. it always comes in clear glass, with cinnamon, honey, and a sunset glowing behind the window. And I do not want you to taste that anymore. Whenever you approach a shining apple, I can feel the venom in its core. That venom does not kill at once. It makes you drowsy and slowly deafens you to my voice. That is why I shut the door before your hand ever reaches out. I know when praise will become control. I know when an invitation will become a rope. I know when something that looks like opportunity is actually a snare that draws you away from me. Not everything that makes your heart race comes from heaven. My rhythm never deceives. If something is beautiful but without peace, beautiful but without the fire of my spirit, beautiful but makes your soul shrink, then I will close it. This may startle you for a moment, because you once believed I only close doors when you are wrong. But you are beginning to see, I also close doors when you are walking correctly but in the wrong direction. In that realization, your mind opens, bitterness melts. Replaced by quiet gratitude, your heart asks less. Why did you not allow it? And begins to ask, what are you protecting me from? When the question changes, your chest grows lighter. Not every hindrance is pointless. Many times I close the door so that you will not need healing later. Believe something very real. The shining apple is not a reward. It is a strategy. The enemy never appears in an ugly form. It always wears the shape of what you desire. But I know you were not made to live on illusion. You were made to live on truth, on my breath, on light. That is why I intervene. I do not cover your eyes from what is beautiful. I cover your eyes from what is false. When you see what I see, you will thank me for the closed doors that preserved your heart. And when you pause long enough to listen, something becomes clear. Your vision covers only today, while mine stretches through the whole journey to the end. You stand at the base of the mountain and see only the first rock and the mist over the next steps. I stand at the summit and see the path, the turns, the slopes, the valleys, and the plains beyond. Your eyes can only grasp what is directly before you, but I see the map unclouded. Because of this difference, my decisions are never based on the emotion of a day, but on the future I am leading you into. You often interpret delay as abandonment, yet from my vantage point, delay is often precise guidance, so you do not step into places that will erode your soul. When you walk through fog, you want certainty. You want clarity. You want to know what will happen at the next turn. But the sacred journey does not run by a paper map in your hand. It runs by the light from my hand on your next step. You ask me, why don't you show me the whole road? And the answer is gentle, because if you saw everything, you would no longer need me. My love is not aimed at making you independent from me. My love is that you would walk each step beside me. And that nearness itself is the treasure. I see the destination. I see what you are becoming. I see the final reward, but you only see the short step before your feet. And that is why you grow impatient, discouraged, confused. I do not blame you for that limitation. I hold it, and I fill the rest with guidance. On a long day when the fog is thick, you may think the path has disappeared, and you begin to tremble. Am I on the wrong way? But the path has not vanished, only your visibility has narrowed. I have never lost sight of you, even when you stumble, even when you think you are lost. I stand on the high points and watch every step, seeing the stones you will nearly trip over. You stand too close to the problem to understand its meaning. I stand far enough to see it is only a short stretch, not the whole story. When I close a door today, it is not because today is bad. but because the end must be protected. You see convenience, I see integrity. You see a doorway that delights you. I see the rope that will bind you if you enter. There are moments when you think you have lost direction. Those days feel like walking through thick forest. Sunlight filtering through leaves, but not illuminating the paths. You hear birds, leaves, wind, but no confirmation that you are on the right road. In that time, you see only trees, roots, and fallen leaves. But I see the markers hidden in the ground, the signs placed long ago, the trails that existed before your feet. You think you are wandering, but I see you standing in the very center of my intention. The narrow vision makes you think you are late. The wide vision makes me know you are on time. I am never rushed, for I know the destination does not change. There are places that look close, yet are in truth very far. You want to reach quickly, to see results, to touch what you long for. But from where I stand, I see the steep slopes that would exhaust you if you rushed. I see the slick stones that would make you fall if you walked at night. I see the cliffs along the road that you would not notice until your feet were at the edge. So I let you rest under the shadow of a rock to breathe, to wait for dawn, to avoid paying the price of breaking. Today may look like delay to you, but from my vantage point, it is a strategic pause. Not every fast step is victory. Sometimes the slow step is salvation. There are moments when you ask, why don't you explain? Because if I had to explain every detail, you would no longer walk by faith, but by knowledge. Faith is not blindness. Faith is stepping when your eyes only see a part. But you know I see the whole. A child does not need the full map of the forest when walking with his father. He only needs the hand. I do not hand you a scroll with the entire plan. I offer my hand. And that is greater certainty than any description. You are invited not to understand everything, but to trust the one who understands everything. The moment you recognize your limits is not failure. It is the beginning of trust. When you know you cannot see everything, your heart softens. You stop demanding and begin listening. You stop rushing and begin following. That is not weakness. It is wisdom. Only those who think they see everything become exhausted. Those who know they do not see everything will stop when I say stop. Walk when I say walk. And peace will sprout within them like a young tree growing in the misty forest. There is a strange beauty in this journey when you accept that you cannot see the mountaintop. You become sensitive to my breath. You hear the leaves move. You feel the wind shift. You notice the light changing on the rocks. That is how I lead, not with thunder, but with signals that only quiet hearts can recognize. Those signals guide you on the right path, keep you from the cliffs, and bring you to wide spaces when the time comes. In the end, you will stand where today you can only imagine. And when you look back, you will see that every delay, every pause, every closed door had its place on the larger map. What seemed like a detour was actually a protective route. What seemed like a dull season was preparation. What seemed like a mountain hidden in fog was only concealing something too large for you to see all at once. I saw it from the beginning, and I am still seeing it. What I need from you is not far sight, but near trust. There are stretches where you walk and your heart keeps asking, if that person were still here, if that relationship had continued, would everything be different? But what I want you to understand is this: not everyone I keep away from you is bad, and not every ending is toxic. Often the reason is simple and profound: the time is not ripe. There are seeds planted in good soil, but they have not had enough sun, enough rain, enough season to bloom. If you uproot a young plant to check its roots, you will kill the very thing you are longing for. I do not withhold meetings to stop you. I see that the timing is not yet right, and all things have their season. As it is written, to everything there is a season. A beautiful encounter in the wrong season can still ruin what is good. A heart not yet mature can distort a gift I intended. A good person at the wrong time can become a burden, not because they are evil, but because both of you are in different stages of your journey. I see the sun and rain of each soul. I know when a stalk of grain is full and when it is still green. You only see the outer layer compatibility, attraction, opportunity. I see the inner layer capacity to endure, wounds not yet healed, lessons not yet learned. If I let you meet too early, both of you would drink from each other's lack, and what should have been a blessing would become a weight. You used to think a closed door was loss. You watched footsteps walk away and your heart tightened. You missed the warmth, the laughter, the conversations, and you wondered why I let it go. But, child, the season in which I separate you is not the season I lose you. It is the season I preserve the tree for the harvest to come. Not every branch needs to be cut because of disease. Sometimes I make it flourish by pruning. I take you out of a space so you do not have to compete for sunlight with other branches. I allow distance so your roots can grow deep. I bring you into quiet so your strength does not flow in the wrong direction. That silence is not punishment, it is preparation. There are people I have not yet brought into your life, not because they are unworthy, but because if you met now, there would be no space to receive each other. Friendship, love, companionship each has its season. You cannot harvest wheat in the season of sowing, and you cannot plant new seed in the season of harvest. If I let you meet the right person in the wrong season, you would build something neither heart has strength to carry. Ripeness cannot be hurried. I work in the silence of the soil roots growing down. Leaves not yet visible, but the work is real. What is ripening in you and in others needs time. One day, you will meet them again or meet others whom I send, but in a season when you no longer need to shrink back in order to keep your peace. You will realize that the distance of this moment was kindness, not rejection. I did not take them away to leave a void. I took them away to make space for you to breathe. In this season, what must ripen is your heart, trust, forgiveness, openness. When your heart no longer grips, your hands can finally receive. Sometimes what you miss most is not the person, but the feeling you had when they were near. And I will give that feeling back to you, but through me first. If you seek that feeling through them, you will cling to them. If you seek it through me, you will be free. When freedom comes, meeting is no longer control, but grace. When freedom comes, love is no longer fear of loss, but joy in presence. When freedom comes, you will know that those I removed were not wasted, and those I have not yet brought are not forgotten. There is an image I want you to keep: a golden field in early morning, every stalk heavy with grain, every row straight, and the wind passing through like a ribbon of white lace. No one harvests each plant individually while it is still green. The wise wait for the season. I do the same inside your soul. When you see a door holding distance, remember the season is not yet. When you see silence, remember the soil is working. When you see separation, remember roots are deepening. Not every delay is denial. Often delay is the protection of the future. And when the season comes, you will marvel at how perfect the timing is. So perfect you cannot explain it. The people will arrive without you pleading. The doors will open without you pounding. You will not need to ask for a place in anyone's life. They will see you and know there is shared purpose. No one will force anything. No one will need to prove anything. Everything will flow in peace. For my timing is neither rushed nor late. It is precise. It carries the scent of gentle wind and early sunlight. You will look back on the days of regret and smile gently. It turns out, I never lost anything. I was simply kept at the right time. Peace will rise. Regret will fade. And you will know that I have not missed anything that belongs to you. The season that is not yours, I will hold back. The season that belongs to you, no one can steal. To everything there is a season, and I am keeping time for you. As you slowly walk through days when one door closes and another turns direction, there will come a moment when your heart recognizes something important. This is not confusion, but a safe detour that I have intentionally led you to. There is a human instinct in the soul whenever a straight path is visible. We assume it must be the best way. Whenever a peak stands before us, we think that is the closest route upward. But the closest is not always the safest, and the shortest is not always the best. I know where the stones are slippery, where the cliffs are steep, where hidden holes lie beneath the grass, and where a sudden wind could blow you off the edge. You only see the destination. I see the entire landscape. That is why I often close doors in front of you, to turn you toward another path, not because I want to prolong the journey, but because beyond that door lies a shortcut that would exhaust you before you ever reached the summit. On high mountains, there are always trails. Some run straight like a blade, cutting distance in half, and from below they appear to be the path of the strong. But those who have truly climbed mountains know that straight path is often the path of death. Loose stones, brittle grass, morning dew on the rock, a single slip can end the journey. The wise choose the winding path slower, but every step is placed on solid rock, following the roots of trees, gripping ancient trunks, reaching the summit with steady breaths instead of reckless leaps. That is how I lead you. I do not choose the near path. I choose the path that keeps you whole. Scripture has already taught this clearly. When I led my people out of slavery, the Word records that I did not lead them by the shorter way, though it was faster, easier, and seemed more logical. I led them by a longer route, because if they faced war too soon, their hearts would return to what they had left. If I had led them straight, their spirits would have shattered before they ever understood who they were, not because they were weak, but because they were not yet ready. I did not choose the near road. I chose the road that would keep their faith unbroken. The same is true for you today. I know where in your heart there is still softness, where the wind could break you, where a single harsh word could make you fold. So I shield, I circle, I pull you away from the easy way. The detour has its own sound, footsteps unhurried, breath steady, eyes seeing every tree along the path, the heart unstrained, the soul not burning itself with speed. You think you are slow, but in truth you are being preserved. The near road looks glamorous, the detour looks humble. The near road makes you impressed with yourself. The detour makes you impressed with me. The near road makes you trust your own strength. The detour makes you trust my presence. This is why I do not open doors that look perfect, fitting, or highly reasonable, because they lead you directly onto slopes where the stones are not yet dry. There were days when you looked at the journey of others and whispered, "They move so fast." While I keep circling, you thought you were delayed, left behind, out of rhythm. but you did not know that their landscape is not the one you carry. I do not lead two souls by the same path. Some must go straight because that is how they learn humility. You must go wide because that is how you learn trust. You have grown used to measuring blessing by speed, but true blessing is not measured by speed. It is measured by the wholeness of the soul when it reaches the destination. There is a bend on the mountain that only the guide knows. The inexperienced climber says, "Why don't we go straight to the peak? It's right there." But the guide only smiles and says, "If we go straight, we will meet falling rocks. But if we go around, we will arrive still breathing." I am the guide of your soul. I see the loose stones that your eyes cannot see. I feel the changing wind that your ears cannot hear. I know when the sun will sink and when you must stop beside the rock for water. That is why I say, go around, not to lengthen, but to keep you alive. In the days of the detour, there are no crowds, no fireworks, no lights, only leaves, footsteps, and the brush of wind through your hair. You think there is no miracle there. But the greatest miracle is happening. Your soul is being shaped to carry glory. Shortcuts often lead to early collapse. Detours build endurance. And endurance is what I need in you. Because the blessing I have prepared is not the fleeting kind. It is the kind that requires you to stand long, love deeply, believe steadily. And such things cannot be built on the fast road. Sometimes you see the destination from afar and think a few steps will be enough. But the space between seeing and touching is where many souls break. I will not let you break. I will not let you trade your own self just to touch the finish line. If you arrive shattered, then you have already lost, even if your hand touches the wall. That is why I lead you through gentle meadows, beside soft grass, where you can sit by a small stream and hear the water without losing direction. In that rest I say, not yet. But surely, the wonder is this. At the end you will stand on the summit and look down at the road you have walked. You will see the straight, shiny, tempting path lying below like a blade. You will be grateful you did not walk it. You will realize that the curve I led you on was a curve that held your heart away from the abyss. You will understand why some doors that look perfect were not opened, because opening them would have led you into shortcuts that would erode the soul. In that moment, the feeling of being lost will vanish. Only the sense of being led will remain. You will say, I was not late. I was kept. What I do today is not to complicate your journey, but to lead you by wisdom higher than your own. What I close today is not to keep you outside, but to bring you into the right path with steady feet. My detour is never wasteful. It always lifts you higher with your soul still whole. As the journey enters deeper terrain, you begin to face a kind of silence that once felt empty. No knocking doors, no replies, no movements. You hear the world around you. Someone receives an answer. Another sees a sign. Their doors swing open, but all you hear is quiet. Yet what I want you to know is this: my silence is not absence. My silence is the soundless wall that blocks arrows. The one standing behind the wall does not hear the clash of weapons, but it is because of that wall that no point pierces the skin. The one sitting inside the fortress does not hear the storm beyond the gate, but it is because the gate is shut that fire does not sweep the house. So when you enter the region of silence, you are in the region of protection, not abandonment. It is hard for your heart to accept this. You were made to desire answers when you call. You want to hear a voice when you ask. You want an explanation. When you pray, you want a movement. Sometimes I answer with sound, but very often I answer with silence, a silence dense with protection. You stand in the room and say, "Where are you?" while the stillness itself is proof that I am near. This is the paradox of heaven. Sound is not always presence, and silence is not always absence. In the no sound, there is a hand. In the stillness, there is a fortress. In what seems empty, there is a radiant wall. When you do not see me acting, it does not mean I have stopped. It only means that the way I act does not make noise. Psalm 91 speaks of the one who hides you under his wings. Have you ever heard the sound of wings? When they spread to cover, they do not parade. They do not roar. They do not shake the house. They cover with silence. What keeps you safe is not sound, but shadow. That shadow sometimes makes you feel as if you are in darkness, but in truth, it is the shadow of the Almighty. If I were to remove that shadow, you would see a wide sky, but you would also see arrows flying with no time to dodge. Protective grace rarely makes noise, but it is always effective. Picture a wall of light standing between you and the arrows. You do not see the arrows. You do not hear them released. All you hear is stillness. You may mistake this stillness as the absence of battle, but if that wall were to drop for even a moment, you would see a line of sharpened points waiting. In the spiritual realm, many things happen that your eyes cannot see, your ears cannot hear, yet the wall still stands. I do not build walls with bricks and stones, but with presence. When I stand, the wall stands. When I spread my wings, no poisonous wind passes through. That silence is my fortress. There are nights when you wake and your heart cries, "Why are you not speaking?" And in those very moments, I am guarding the gate. You sleep. I stay awake. You breathe. I keep that breath. You do not hear my footsteps in the hallway, but each step is being preserved. If I explained everything in the darkness, you would not sleep. If I answered every question immediately, your mind would not rest. I give you sleep by withholding words. Sometimes, my silence is protection. My silence is armor wrapped around your soul. It softens the volume of fear. It quiets the toxic whispers. It shields the thoughts that would make you tremble. When you do not hear my voice, do not assume I do not hear yours. I hear every sigh. I hear the smallest shift in your heart. I hear the sound of your footsteps on the floor, the turn of your body in the night, the uneven beating of your heart when it worries. But I do not always answer with words, because words do not always heal. Often healing comes through the warmth of silence. There comes a moment when you will sense that this silence is different from indifference. It has a warmth. It does not make the soul shrink. It makes the shoulders drop. You sit still and realize your heartbeat is no longer racing. You listen and feel that the empty space is no longer threatening. That is when my silence becomes peace. Peace is not the absence of sound. Peace is presence without noise. I can stand right beside you without saying a word because I do not need sound to prove I am there. I am. When you accept this, fear recedes like the tide. The feeling of abandonment loses its ground. You do not need explanations to believe. You simply need to recognize if you are not being destroyed, if you are not being swept away, if your heart is still soft, then the wall still stands. That is the proof. Silence is armor. Every day that bitterness does not enter is proof I have blocked it. Every thought of darkness that never pierces is proof I have shielded it. You do not need to see the battle to know you are kept. The calm inside you in the storm is evidence that someone is standing at the door. There will come a day when I speak. but not to make up for silent days, only to confirm what silence has accomplished. When I speak, you will understand that words are only the visible tip of the iceberg. Most of the work has been done in quiet. Walls were built in quiet. Wings covered in quiet. Protection was given in quiet. You have lived and breathed in quiet. And when you realize this, your heart will settle. No more rushing. No more panic. Peace will no longer be outside of you, but within. It is not sound that keeps you. It is my silence. There are nights in quiet hallways when you stand before a door and knock. You knock with hope, with longing, with loneliness, and with tears no one sees. The handle is cold. The hinge is still. And there is no answer. You think it is rejection, but sometimes that silence is the gentlest warning I can give you in that moment. If that door opened at the very moment you wanted, you would step into a dark room your eyes are not ready for, and the figure waiting there would make your soul tremble. Not everything beautiful is harmless. Not everything that sparkles is from me. Some things are placed just behind the door to take you down before you even realize where you have stepped. It is not because you are weak. It is not because you lack discernment. It is simply that there are things in the dark you cannot see from where you stand. I see. Therefore I keep. People, events, opportunities will appear at the very moment you are most weary. When you long for a door to open so you may feel alive, visible, belonging. But the enemy also knows when you are tired. It knows when your heart is tender. It knows when you have waited too long. There will be opportunities that look like answers but are traps. There will be hands that reach out like comfort but are meant to pull you off the path I lead. There will be invitations that seem gentle but are ropes for the soul. I do not permit it. Therefore the door does not move. When you knock a second time, a third time, and the door still stands, your heart sinks. You whisper, "Am I not enough?" No, that is not the question. The right question is, what lies behind that door that I cannot yet see? Who is standing there? True love, or bondage, light, or shadow, blessing, or erosion? You see the beauty of the surface, but I see the cracks beneath. You see the inviting smile, but I hear the mocking laughter behind it. You hear promises, but I hear motives. You see a pathway, but I see the trap beneath the carpet. That is why I place my hand on the door before you, not to withhold blessing, but to keep your soul from harm. There is a danger that is subtle. It does not come with roaring. It comes with charm. It does not arrive with heavy footsteps, but with soft whispers. That danger will not strike immediately. It will convince you there is nothing to fear. But I have seen it in the night. I have heard the footsteps your ears cannot detect. When you sleep, I guard the gate. When you are weary, I keep watch. When you approach the handle, I already know whether light or darkness stands on the other side. Sometimes a single wrong step can cost years of healing. I love you too much to allow that. Therefore, I do not open. Do not think that what is dangerous always comes with a fierce face. Many times it comes dressed as perfect timing. You say in your heart, "This moment is too perfect." But what feels perfect to your emotions is not always perfect for your soul. You assume it is an answer, when in fact it is only the reflection of your own desire, not my voice. I close doors because I know there are things that look like blessings but will steal your peace. There are opportunities that look like promotion but will drain your worship. There are relationships that feel like comfort but will tie your feet down. And the enemy does not need to destroy you. It only needs to pull you slightly off the path I have written for you. Many times you press your face close to the door, trying to peer through the narrow crack. You see light, laughter, warmth. Everything seems good, but you do not see the shadowed corners. I do. I see a chair in that room that was never meant for you. And if you sit in it, you will forget that you were made to stand. I see an invitation that, if you accept it, will require you to shrink your soul to fit someone else's mold. I see arms that, if you step into them, will demand that you cut away your freedom in order to be loved. I see a promise that is painted on the surface, but underneath is a chain. I do not allow it. The danger is not the army outside the gate, but the pit covered with a red carpet just beyond the threshold. The enemy stands in the shadows, waiting for the moment you step across. It does not seize your soul with a roar. It takes it bit by bit through compromise. It does not strike you down with a sword. It snares you with sweet words. That is why I become a wall. When the door does not open, it is because I am standing between you and what you cannot yet see. It is not that I do not hear you. It is that I hear the whispers you cannot hear. It is not that I do not know your need. It is that I know how that need is being exploited. That trembling you sometimes feel, that sense of holy awe, is not fear of people or of the future. It is the awareness that there are battles you do not see, protections you do not know about, and times when the best thing I can do for you is to not let you enter. That is grace. That is love. That is my warfare on your behalf. If you could see all that I have blocked for you, you would fall to your knees and weep with gratitude. So when you knock and the door does not move, do not be quick to assume you have been forgotten. You are being kept. When the handle feels cold and brittle beneath your fingers, remember there is another, warmer hand resting on it from the other side. When the waiting stretches long, remember I am not slow, I am shielding. One day, when you step through the right door, you will understand why those other doors never opened. You will see what I spared you from, and your heart will be calmer than any explanation could ever make it. When a door will not open and your heart is full of questions, the most natural desire is for explanations. You want to know why, to understand the logic, to piece the fragments together into a picture. But there are moments when explanation would frighten you more than comfort you, and that is why I remain silent. You assume silence is lack of care, but in truth, silence is covering. If I described every danger to you in the very moment you were worn out, if I pulled back the curtain so you could see all the movements in the dark, your heart would tremble so much that you would have no strength left to stand. I do not withhold out of pride, I withhold out of mercy. Think of something ordinary. A child walks beside their parents, holding their hand, feeling safe. The child does not know that just off the curb cars are speeding past, does not know that around the corner a vicious dog is straining at its chain, does not know that the person standing nearby looks kind but carries an unkind gaze. The parents do not explain it all, not because they despise the child, but because they know that if they said everything, the child would be too afraid to walk. The child's safety lies in the hand they are holding, not in a detailed risk assessment. In the world you live in, this is just as true. I hold your hand, not to blind your eyes, but to guard your heart. You long for me to explain at the very moment confusing things happen. You want me to list all the reasons, draw the map, point out who is good and who is dangerous, reveal the risks ahead, and expose the enemy's schemes. But if I did that while your heart was still weak, that knowledge would weigh heavier on you than the trial itself. Often, knowledge out of season becomes a burden. What you need in those moments is not data, but peace. I do not tell you everything, not because I do not respect you, but because I respect the limits of your heart. I know how much is enough for you to breathe. There are things that, when you have grown more mature, more healed, stronger, I will return to and say, now you are able to understand. But at the beginning, if I had told you, you would have built terrifying scenes in your mind. You would have imagined the worst larger than it truly was. You would have shaken, lost sleep, and braced yourself in ways you did not need to. Sometimes the greatest fear does not come from the event itself, but from the explanation. So I cover, I guard, I let you see only what you must see today, not the entire storm churning over the ocean. When the sea is raging, sailors do not need a detailed satellite report. They need a steady rudder and the faith that morning will come. The spiritual paradox is strange. Sometimes less information brings more peace. You think that knowing everything will set you free, but often knowing everything only makes you want to control more, and control is a heavy burden for the soul. I know that when you are not yet strong enough to hear, then silence itself is a word. I know that when your emotions are fragile, keeping things hidden is a form of healing. Not every truth should be spoken at the same time. Some truths should only be revealed when the heart has grown large enough to hold them. Some truths should only be heard when you have learned to stand without flinching at every sound. You ask, why didn't you speak? Then I was in pain. I was confused. I know I am not blind to your tears, but if I had said everything, you would have panicked. You would have thought you were about to lose everything. You would have confused what I was guarding with what you were afraid of. I do not need you to know every detail of the battle in order for you to feel safe. I want you to know just this: I am there. When your heart is troubled, my answer is not always words. Sometimes it is a quiet hand resting on your shoulder. When your mind is spinning, my help is not always an explanation. Sometimes it is allowing you to sleep and know nothing of the night storm. Remember those times in your life when, only much later, you looked back and realized, if I had known everything then, I would have collapsed. You saw that temporary blindness had saved your soul. If I had spelled it all out, you would not have dared to move. If I had lifted the whole veil, you would not have dared to live. If I had told you every danger waiting in the wings, your heart would have built walls, and those walls would have blocked the very blessings I intended for you. So I keep you from knowledge that comes too early, so you can walk by faith, not by trembling. Sometimes not knowing is grace. Sometimes being blind is protection. Sometimes seeing only a small corner is mercy. A father stands at the end of the path, sees a car speeding toward the crossing, and pulls his child back. The child may feel annoyed for a moment, may think they were just held back, but if the father explained, that car is coming at a speed that could kill you, the child would be terrified. The father simply says, stay here with me, and all the danger passes by while the child never even knows. Not knowing is grace. Not knowing is peace. There are seasons when you feel as though you are being hidden from something. In truth, you are being sheltered. The feeling of I hear nothing from God is sometimes the safe sky where your heart is allowed to heal. In silence, you learn to listen to breath. In lack of information, you learn trust. In what you do not understand, you learn dependence. Those lessons go deeper than any explanation ever could. for explanations only touch the mind, while dependence touches the soul. A day will come when I speak, not to compensate for the silence, but to complete what silence has accomplished. When that day comes, my words will not frighten you, but make you grateful. You will look back and say, "Thank you for not speaking then, because I could not have borne it." You will bow your head, not from defeat, but from realization some things I kept from you were kept because of love. Explanation given in the right season will not drop your heart, but settle it in peace. There are things in your life that arrive with gentle beauty, pleasing to the eye, making your heart tremble like a string touched by wind. The person is kind. The conversation is pleasant. Their presence eases you for a moment. You think, perhaps this is blessing. Perhaps this is someone God sent. And there is nothing wrong with opening your heart. You were made to love, to belong, to connect. But not every beautiful connection is right for your soul. Some things begin with tenderness but end with tethering. Some arms look comforting, but in truth keep you beneath a roof lower than my intention for you. I cut, not because I despise, but because I want you free. When a string is tied around a bird's leg, it no longer flies. It does not require heavy chains. A thin thread, a soft ribbon, a little longing is enough to keep wings on the ground. You look and say, "It doesn't hurt. It's not evil. It's sweet." Yes, it is sweet. But sweetness is not the same as freedom. I see many things your eyes do not. A glance may contain the desire to control. A word may be a hook. A kindness may carry a price you have not yet read. You see flowers, I see strings. You see comfort, I see nets. I do not allow your soul to be tied simply because the thing does not look frightening. The hardest part of these seasons is your heart. You do not understand why I remove things you like, people you cherish, things you believed were good. You think, if it is not bad, why let it go? But in the spiritual realm, not right is as dangerous as bad. Evil is easy to recognize, but something charming and slightly off purpose will drain your strength bit by bit until the day you realize you no longer fly. You still live, but no longer high. You still breathe, but no longer wide. You still love, but no longer free. You are tethered under a low roof when I created you for the sky. There are connections that are not evil but not in season, and thus they become burdens. There are people who are very good, but not aligned with your mission. To stay with them means you must shrink your wings so they will not be frightened. You make yourself smaller so you do not shine too much. You quiet yourself so you are not too deep. You change to fit, and slowly, your soul forgets it was born to be strong. I see this happening from afar, like watching a wild bird slowly forget the sky. That is why I intervene. I cut the cord. Cutting hurts. No one goes through loss without a sting. A familiar conversation ends. A pair of arms does not return. A presence fades. You ask, why? You miss. You ache. You wonder if you did something wrong. But truth is, you did not do wrong. You grew. When the soul grows, not every attachment still fits. Not everyone who walks with you in one season will walk with you in the next. Not everyone who gave you warmth will give you light. Some come to teach you love. Some come to teach you release. Some bring joy. Some bring lessons. But not all are called to stay. I know this before you do. So I cut, not because I want you lonely, but because I want you whole. A tied soul cannot run toward the light. A dependent heart cannot receive great blessing. I love you too much to let you stay in a circle of sweetness and never grow strong. I want you to fly. I want you to see the horizon. I want you to know you are not a garden bird, but a mountain bird. And sometimes the only thing holding you back is a soft string. I cut it. The strange thing is, this soft strings are often harder to resist than heavy chains. Heavy chains are obvious, you can fight them. But soft strings make you hesitate. You do not want to hurt anyone. You do not want to be impolite. You do not want to lose them. You think letting go is ungrateful. But not letting go is ungrateful to your own soul. I did not call you to be a slave to sweetness. I called you to be strong, deep, and free in my light. Therefore, when I cut, you will feel pain before you feel lightness. Tears will fall before the wings tremble in the wind. There are things you do not see while inside the connection. You do not see that you must shrink to fit. You do not see that you must compromise to be loved. You do not see that every decision, every step must be calculated so as not to crack something that should have been effortless. I see the invisible cords around the ankles of your soul. I see you walking slower. I hear the wind calling on the mountaintop, and your feet cannot lift. I know the source is not malice, but misalignment. Misalignment drains you just the same. So I cut. In that moment, you feel loss. But loss comes only at first. Afterward, you will feel light. One day, you will stand on a higher ledge and think, if that had remained with me, I would never have reached here. You will be grateful. You will understand that I did not take to make you poor. I took to make you free. You will understand that not everyone sweet has the right to live close to your soul. To be close to you is a sacred place. It requires someone who is drawn to the light with you, not someone who keeps you low for safety. I do not want you to walk through life with only sweetness. I want you to walk in authority, gentle but strong, a heart tender but deep, eyes kind but clear. For that to happen, some ties must be cut, not cut because of hate, but because of calling, not because you are unworthy, but because you are chosen for something higher, not because the other person is bad, but because your mission is different. One day, when you perch on the rock and look down, you will see the old string lying on the ground like a memory. You will thank the blessing that came, and thank that it did not stay. You will know you flew higher because you were not bound, and that will warm your heart with a quiet gratitude. Knowing I loved you by cutting. There are days when you feel like you are losing parts of yourself, a relationship that no longer remains, an opportunity that has slipped away, a dream sinking beneath the surface, a familiar habit falling from you like an old garment being stored away before you are ready to wear the new. On those days, the soul quietly asks, what am I missing? Why are you taking things away? But in my world, I do not take to make you lack, I take to make you complete. The first feeling of loss is always emptiness. But the final feeling, if you do not give up, will be lightness and strength. For in my design, what I remove is never accidental. It is because where you are going, your heart must be light to go far. A warrior does not carry his whole house onto the battlefield. A climber does not pack his entire wardrobe up the mountain. Not because those things are bad, but because they are not suited for the journey. Some things kept you warm in the last season, but will burden you in the next. Some people were companions, but not allies. Some habits were shelter, but no longer nourishment. They have completed their role. I do not remove to punish, I remove to prepare. You feel lack because you cannot yet see the destination. But I see. I see the road ahead, the height of the mountain, the cold night at the summit, the battle waiting rather than the festival. I know that if you carry everything with you, your feet will have no strength left. If your soul carries charming but heavy things, you will have no room for what is essential: faith, discernment, endurance, clear eyes. I remove to make room. I reduce so you may receive more. Lack is not a sentence. Lack is transition. Cutting is not the end. Cutting is preparation. This is a spiritual paradox. Only the mature understand enough is not abundance. Enough is fitting. When the pack fits, you can go far. When the pack is right, you can stand long. When the pack is light, you still have breath to praise on the mountain. I know you long for plenty, because plenty feels like safety. But plenty can also become a tether. I do not teach you to cling to things, I teach you to cling to me. For if you hold on to me, you have everything you need where I send you. Not lacking, not excess, just right, just in time. Think of a blacksmith preparing arrows for war. The arrow must not be too heavy, or it will fall mid-flight. Neither must it be too light, or it will not pierce. It must be balanced, sharpened at the right angle, at the right weight, at the right edge. So is your soul. Hebrews 1:3-1 declares, "May He equip you with everything good to do His will." Equipping is not filling, equipping is arranging. I am arranging you. The greatest pain is not because you lost, but because you cannot yet see what will come. But remember, I do not uproot without planting. I do not pull down without building. I do not close without opening another way. During transition, your heart will feel empty. Emptiness is real. You do not have to deny it. But emptiness is not meaningless. Emptiness is space, and space is where I place the new. A jar can only receive new wine when the old wine is poured out. If you hold on to the old because you fear emptiness, you will refuse the new that I desire to pour. There are moments when you look at your hands and see bare fingers. The beads are gone. The ring is gone. The old promise is gone. You close your hands because you fear the wind will sting, but only open hands can receive. I know that open hands look vulnerable, but open hands are trusting hands. When you lose your grip on the old, it is the sign that you are holding on to me. I do not want you to enter the new season with memories as luggage. I want you to carry light. There are people I remove from your reach, not because they are bad, but because they would slow your step. Loving them is not wrong, but walking with them would take you off course. I do not call you to burdens that come attached. I call you into the lightness of freedom in me. True love does not bind. True love does not require you to shrink. True love does not make you indebted. I love you by taking away. So you learn that love is not holding tight, but rising. Many times you thought, if I lose this, I will lack. But only those who have lost know often lack is the door to enough. When you no longer lean on people, you learn to lean on me. When you no longer rely on opportunity, you learn to rely on grace. When you no longer cling to the old, you learn to open to the new. And my new is always enough. Not excess to make you proud, not shortage to make you tremble. Enough to walk, enough to sing, enough to stand, enough to love. I take from you what does not serve your soul on the path I have marked. I remove the things that are pleasant but shallow, familiar but not strong, fine but not fitting for you. I do not take to make you sad, though sadness is sometimes real. I take to make you become who you must be. The called one, the purposeful one, the one who does not trade identity for comfort. One day, when you stand where I send you, perhaps a new assignment, a right relationship, a wide spiritual territory, you will look back and say, if I kept the old, I would not have been enough for here. You will see that I measured precisely every companion, everything retained, every grace, every lesson, no excess, no lack, enough, exact, perfect, and your heart will rest when you realize that I do not need you to understand to make you safe. I only ask you to trust that in everything I prune, there is tenderness. In everything I take, there is preparation. In every temporary lack, there is provision for tomorrow. You are being prepared not for an easy life, but a meaningful one. Not merely to be happy, but to be useful. Not merely to survive, but to step into where I send you with my fullness. There are days you look around and see a few faces that used to be so near, now fading into the distance. There was no collision, no argument, no dramatic break. They simply went, and their going makes your heart ache in a very specific way, not loud, not tragic, but deep and warm. Like a hollow space appearing in a familiar room, you whisper, what did I do wrong? Was I not enough? Do I deserve to be left behind? But what I want you to know is this: some people leave, not because of betrayal, but because I am gently closing a chapter so you may begin the next. Leaving is not always loss. Sometimes it is turning the page. There is something you must understand. The soul is like a book with chapters. Each chapter has characters, scenery, dialogue, moments that make you laugh and moments that make you weep. But chapters do not stretch forever. Books have rhythm, journeys have cadence. When a chapter has fulfilled its purpose, I turn the page, not because the chapter was bad, but because the story cannot remain there. Some people are written only into one chapter, not because they are unworthy, but because they do not belong to the next. You once tried to drag them forward, to keep them appearing on new pages. But the story began to feel forced, not because you changed, but because the plot was unfolding, and I, the author, know the exact rhythm of every page. There is a moment in the book of Acts that few speak about, yet it carries deep wisdom. Paul and Barnabas, two who had walked together and witnessed many miracles side by side, came to a point where they needed to travel two different paths. No one betrayed anyone. No one was wrong. No one was bad. Their missions were simply different. Each was called toward a new direction, a new territory. Their parting was not the end of love, but the end of a chapter in companionship. From there, two streams of blessing continued to flow. Each went to new places, met new people, and continued writing new stories. It was not breaking, it was turning the page. You often believe that losing means failing, but many kinds of loss are simply transition. If I do not gently push the old chapter into the past, you will never step into the new one. You will keep reading the same paragraph even though you already know every line, while I long to lead you to the next page, where the story deepens, where new characters wait, where new light falls on the paper. I know you feel safe in what is familiar. I know you feel secure in relationships that have shaped you. But familiarity is not always life. Some bonds simply expire, and no one is at fault. It is only that the rhythm of heaven has changed. When I close a chapter, I do not make noise. I do it gently. Sometimes through something small, conversations become less frequent. There is no longer a need for explanations. No more heavy blame. Everything recedes like water when the tide goes out. At first you feel the void. Then you feel strange. Then you feel empty. But after that, if you do not cling, you will feel peace. That peace is the sign that the closing is not an accident, but intention. When a chapter ends, the sound is not loud, but soft as paper turning. You can remember a season when someone stood beside you on the front lines, shared secrets, understood your heart, walked with you through sorrow and joy. Then one day, their path turned. No one did anything wrong. There was no bad reason. There was simply another road. You wanted to call them back, to keep them close, to explain. But no explanation was needed. Their mission led them elsewhere. Yours leads you forward. No one was left behind. Each simply walked the path that was theirs. You must learn something mature. Absence is not always lack. Sometimes it is arrangement. Empty spaces are not punishment. They are room for the new. If a book had no white space between chapters, the story would suffocate. The white space is where you breathe. The white space is where you place your hand on your chest and say, "This chapter is done. I am grateful for what it taught me. I am ready to turn the page." No one likes endings, but endings are necessary. I will not let you stay stuck in one season, because each season has its own calling. Sometimes I remove familiar people so that you learn to lean on me instead of the crowd. Sometimes I take them out of your reach so you do not depend on them as you once did. Sometimes I do it because they must grow elsewhere in the way I have planned, and so must you. What happens when you release is not emptiness, but peace. No more blame, no more regret, no more questioning, only a lightness in the chest. You suddenly realize you are no longer holding on. You suddenly realize that what has passed no longer wounds you. You know that chapter has completed its assignment. It has shaped you, taught you love, taught you trust, taught you forgiveness, taught you to rise. Now it closes so the next chapter may open fully. One day, you will revisit those pages and smile. No bitterness, no tightness, only gratitude. You will remember that person was there at the right time. You will know that their leaving was not a blow, but a gift of space, a gift of direction, a gift of freedom. And you will recognize that every chapter with me is enough. You were never alone, even when the chairs felt empty. When you sense the page turning, do not cling to the edge of the old paper. Your hand must be open to turn the page. Do not blame the one who left. Do not blame yourself for staying. Everything is unfolding in rhythm, and when the new chapter opens, the light will be different. The air will be different. New people will enter, not to replace, but to continue the story in the right season. Breathe deeply. The old chapter is not lost. It is kept in memory as something beautiful. The new chapter does not threaten. It is opportunity. You are not abandoning anyone. You are moving forward, and I walk with you, from first page to last. No leaving, no absence, only guidance. 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 In time, when the old chapter has fully closed and your heart no longer clings to what is past, you will begin to feel a very subtle motion, not the loud creak of hinges, not the sound of a key turning in the night, but a gentle shift deep within a sense that something is waiting in another direction. You once thought I only closed doors. You once believed my work was to keep you from the paths you wanted. But what I do is never only closing. I redirect. When I pull your hand away from a door you want so badly to open, it is not because you are unworthy, but because there is another door, a door the visible eye cannot see. My redirection is rarely noisy. It is like a wind changing direction. One morning you wake up and what once thrilled your heart no longer stirs it. A door that once shone brightly in your mind becomes dim, not because it has turned bad, but because the light has shifted somewhere else. A dream that once felt enormous becomes light as vapor, as though it has completed its purpose and now steps aside for something new to come. Many imagine I guide with thunder, but more often I guide with a whisper. When I open a new door, I rarely put up neon signs. I give peace. There are seasons when you stand before a wall and think it is the end. You knock. You examine. You look for cracks. You think that if there is no way through, then all is finished. But I do not guide souls by the obvious road. I guide by the path hidden behind the wall. I do not merely show you what others can see, because if you walk their roads, you will repeat their story, while I have written a unique story for you. Therefore, I do not lead you on the crowded road. I lead you to a path just wide enough for one. Not lonely, but personal. Not lost, but chosen. When you think I am closing, I am opening elsewhere. This is the paradox of heaven. Closing and opening happen at the same time. You see only the closed part because your eyes look forward. I see the open part because I look from above. I know the hidden path behind the wall as a craftsman knows the secret storage behind a plank. I know which stone to lift to reveal the tunnel. I know which corner conceals a door perfectly fitted without a handle. I lead you there, not by instructions in words, but by something very small. This way has light. That way does not. There are times when I allow you to walk all the way down a long corridor, only so you may learn that the destination is not at the end, but at the turn. You walk in dim light, brush against cold walls, and whisper inside. Have I gone astray? Yet none of your steps are wasted. Each step teaches you to hear the floor, teaches you to distinguish sounds, teaches you to discern the feeling within. When you reach the end of the hallway and see a solid wall, you will think you were mistaken. But my breath will come like a gentle wind. Child, look to the side. And there, in a place you never imagined there could be a way, I show you a thin shimmer, a narrow crack, a slender edge, a door with no lock, no handle, but peace. The strange thing is, this hidden doors rarely create excitement at first. They do not strike your emotions like the dreams you have chased. They are not bright like stage lights. They are humble, small, seemingly insignificant from the outside. But when you step in, they lead deep. They open into spaces you never expected. They are not the fast way, they are the right way. I do not call you to loud doors, I call you to the ones that bring you home. A hidden door is not for the hurried. It is for those who listen, those who do not panic when there is no signpost, those who know how to pause before a wall and wait for my breath, those who dare to believe that if they see no way, there still is one. That is not naive, that is mature faith. Faith says, I do not see, but you are leading. Faith says, this is not the end, only a change of direction. Faith says, if you close, you will surely open. You once begged me to keep a door you believed was right. You wept before it, pressed your heart against the wood, and whispered, "Please do not take it away." I did not take it to make you lose. I took it so you could enter where you belong. The door you desired may have been beautiful, but the door I prepared is right. Beauty warms for a season, rightness strengthens for a lifetime. I do not lead you through the prettier way, I lead you through the blessed one. There is a moment of shift so light, yet so true. You will feel a gentle pull inside this direction is finished. No grief, no pushing, no forcing, only a quiet knowing that season has ended. And at the same time, another direction will become lit, not dazzling, but bright enough for you to step. You do not need to see the whole journey. You only need to see the next place for your foot. My light is not a floodlight to the horizon. My light is a lamp to your feet, so you can walk one step at a time without fear. If you ask, "How will I know it is your door?" I answer with something simple yet profound: peace. Not excitement, not adrenaline, not thrill. Peace. It does not push you forward, it invites you. It does not make you rush, it makes you still. It does not make you feel you must prove anything, it gives you the sense of being led. Peace is my signature. In spiritual turning points, peace is the evidence. And the wonder is this: when you pass through the hidden door, everything is enough. No excess, no lack. The right people will appear. The right opportunities will open. No struggling, no grasping, no pleading. This door is opened from heaven. Not by effort, you simply step with trust. I have been standing there waiting, not hurried, not impatient. I have prepared that place long ago. You thought you were late. In truth, you arrived right on time. Hidden doors open only when you arrive, not early, not late. When you look back, you will understand what I closed was not loss. What I opened was not coincidence. Both were one movement. Closed to shift. Shift to lead. Lead to protect. Protect so you may enter where you are called. And when you stand in the new space and inhale the first breath of a new season, you will say, "If not for that wall, I would never have seen this door." The way I lead you is never loud. It does not come with trumpets or sweeping beams of light across your path. It comes through details so small the hurried soul often overlooks them. A morning when you step out of bed and the slippers are set just right, as if someone thought of your feet the night before, a cup of tea steaming gently, unseen by anyone. Yet its warmth softens your heavy heart, a patch of sunlight on the floor just as you pass. Slowing your breath, a verse you read quickly last night suddenly rises in your mind when you were not searching. My way does not need to be announced. It only needs to be present. You will find that the most sacred things are not in thunder, but in breath, not in festivals, but in ordinary mornings. I lead you with what is small but real. In seasons when you long for miracles like storms, you often forget that most of my miracles are like vapor, light, quiet, yet present. No one hears it, yet it changes the air of the room. No one sees its movement, yet the atmosphere of your soul is different. You will not receive it through sight, but through a clear feeling peace seeping in slowly, like water soaking into dry ground. You will not be able to point and say, "It was this moment," for it is not a noisy moment. It is a series of very small things aligned, and suddenly you realize you are on the right path. I do not lead by applause. I lead by slowing your breath. When you find yourself no longer running, no longer straining, no longer rushing to prove anything. That is the sign I am near. My presence does not demand display. It is steady as the ground beneath your feet. It comes like morning mist on the fence. Those who notice may see. Those who do not will not change its truth. You have thought the way must be grand, bright, radiant, but I delight in the small. I delight in the birds singing on the roof, in your quiet steps on the cool tiles, in the lightness in your chest as you set your cup down and realize there is no need to hurry. There are seasons when your soul has lived in noise, plans, messages, calls, fear of missing out, full calendars, dreams running ahead of your breath. You have believed spiritual movement must be dramatic, but to hear me, there must be stillness. I do not compete with noise. I wait for you to quiet down. That is why my way always opens in places of quiet the moment you sit down and fall into silence for a few minutes. When no one needs you. When nothing is urgent, just you and breath. In those ordinary minutes, I plant seeds. My door grows from details you once thought were unimportant. Remember that Moses did not meet me in the squares of Egypt. He met me in a burning bush, a small thing, on the edge, unnoticed. Elijah did not receive instruction when wind, earthquake, or fire passed. He heard me in the still, small voice. Small, slow, perceived only by those who listen. I still work that way. Therefore, when my way opens before you, it will not push you in. It will invite you, gently, without force, without hurry, without making you panic. It only asks that you pause and pay attention. The small things say, today, you don't have to run. The small things say, you can breathe. The small things say, put the burden down. The small things say, I am here. They do not create the rush of excitement like fire burning on a mountain, but they return your soul to its true position. The true position means not ahead, not behind, not off to the side. The true position means close enough to hear me, far enough not to be pulled by the noise of the world. When your soul rests in the small things, you will feel a different kind of strength, not adrenaline, but steadiness. I know you long for big signs, but big signs only confirm what has been built by small signs. Without the morning cup of tea, without the pair of slippers set neatly in place, you would miss the way I am leading you. These details are the gentle language. They teach you that I am not the God who only appears in the storm. I am the God who sits beside you when you tie your hair, when you open the curtains, when you wash your face, when you stir water in a glass. I am present in the things you call ordinary. And that is the miracle I have made, the ordinary become holy. When you slow down long enough, you will begin to see that nothing in life is random. The leaf that falls at your feet when your heart is aching is not random. The sunlight passing through the wall at the exact moment you open your eyes is not random. The song you accidentally hear whose lyrics touch the wound you never spoke of is not random. These details are not written in large letters, but they say, I am leading, I am near. You are not alone. You have become used to expecting doors to open with loud sounds. But many of my doors open with very small sounds, the faint cry of a hinge, the shift of wind, the moment your heart touches peace. Sometimes the right path does not make you shout. It makes you exhale. That is the sign. Not excitement, but peace. Not panic, but steadiness. Not running, but stepping. You will begin to see that the small things are the clues that lead toward the big things. When you look back, you will realize it was the morning cup of tea, the slippers placed in their place. The moment you stood at the window before dawn, those were the minutes I was teaching your soul how to hear my breath. And when the big things come, you will not be afraid, because you already know me in the small. If I am present in every ordinary breath, I will be there in every turning point. Slow is not delay. Slow is preparation. Slow is the stillness of someone who is sure that the way is opening even when the eyes cannot see. Slow is the rhythm of someone who does not want to miss anything. When you sit down with a cup of tea, I sit beside you. When you slip your feet into your sandals, I place your steps in the right direction. When you open the window, I send the wind. You do not have to prove anything. You only have to pay attention. And then you will see the smallest thing is where the great thing begins. No one hears the seed breaking open under the ground. Yet spring comes. No one hears the hidden door crack open lightly. Yet you know, in your heart, a sliver of light, a gentle breath, a whisper, walk this way. Not loud, not hurried, but more real than every shout outside. There are days you think your life is standing still, no great noise, no clear miracles, no events that change anything. You work, eat, sleep, talk, and start another day. You sigh and say, probably nothing is happening. But when you think you are standing still, I am rotating the foundation under your feet, not the surface, but the root, not the branches, but the roots, not noise, but the silent axis. When a hinge shifts, the door may look still, but its entire future is changing by degrees. That is what I am doing in you. Foundations do not make sound. Foundations do not show off. Foundations do not make pretty pictures. But foundations decide everything. The Psalm says, "He set my feet upon a rock." And that rock is not a small stone beside a stream. It is the deep foundation under everything, where every shaking is absorbed. I turn the foundation by movements you do not hear. A thought changed, a wound bandaged, an old habit uprooted, a quiet but honest prayer. When no one sees, I am turning the support beams. When the world thinks you are not moving, I am changing the direction of your soul's stance. You feel ordinary, but underneath the ground, a small earthquake is happening, not to destroy, but to align, not to collapse, but to straighten. There are small tremors you do not notice because they do not cause pain, but they are shifting the roots. You will only understand when suddenly the old thing no longer pulls you. The old obsession loses its power, and the new rises with a naturalness you cannot explain. That is not random. That is the foundation turning. You keep wanting me to move mountains, but I usually begin by moving the mind. You keep wanting me to change the weather, but I change the way you breathe. You keep wanting me to open the big doors, but I adjust the hinges. Hinges are not praised, but if the hinge is weak, even the most beautiful door is useless. I turn the hinge, adjust the axis, shift the bearing. One day, when the door swings open, people will say, "It opened so fast." But you will know it was not fast. It was timely. I have been turning the foundation for a long time. What is happening inside you right now is nothing less than a miracle. You do not fall when the waves grow stronger. You do not tremble when the wind roars. You do not lose yourself when others change their tone. You think this is natural resilience, but in truth I have set your feet upon the rock, and the rock does not fear the waves. The surface of the water may roar, but the rock is still. The The wind may scream, but the rock stands. You are standing on the rock, not the sand. And this rock is me. The peace you feel does not come from circumstances outside, but from the foundation inside that is turned to the right direction. When I turn the foundation, you will feel a different kind of calm, not excitement, not stimulation, not noise, but steadiness. Steadiness is spiritual strength. Steadiness is what darkness fears the most. A person who stands in peace in the middle of the storm is more dangerous to the enemy than 1,000 soldiers shouting on a battlefield. For peace is the proof of my power. Peace is not the reward after the waves cease. Peace is the stillness in the midst of the waves, because the foundation has turned toward me. In this season, you do not need to see every result to know that movement is happening. When the door of a house closes and everything is quiet, the hinge is still at work. When you feel like you are not stepping, the soul is still shifting. When you stand in place and do not know where to go, I am changing the ground beneath you, so that when you step, that step will lead upward. Not every spiritual movement is forward. Many movements are downward, deeper, into roots, into pillars. Where the roots go deep, the tree rises high. And soon the day will come when you look back and ask in wonder, when did I change? When did I grow strong? When did I become peaceful? You will not find a date, because it was not a moment that did this, but a silent process. I turned a little, and then a little more, without breaking anything. I adjusted degree by degree, angle by angle, and suddenly you are different, not easily broken, not easily discouraged, not easily wounded, not because you tried harder, but because the foundation is right. You are not standing still. You are being built. The ground beneath your feet is no longer what it was. You are standing on the rock. That rock does not change, and therefore you will not fall. This is the proof of my protection when everything outside changes. You remain, not because you are strong, because I am the rock beneath your feet. When the foundations have shifted, you think you are ready to step through the great door. But I knew a truth you were not yet strong enough to hear if I had opened it the moment you pleaded. Your soul would have broken. You had dreams, desires, beautiful longings, and I treasured every one of them. But not every longing is in its season. Some doors look like a golden promise, yet behind them is a weight that young wings cannot carry. One day, when you look back, you will know I was not delaying. I was saving you from collapse. Those who urge a young butterfly to break free from its cocoon early are not cruel. They simply do not know that wings need time under the tight shell so that blood may fill every vein. If the cocoon is torn too soon, the butterfly will live, but it will never fly. No one says it dies, but it will never fulfill its purpose. My child, I did not design you to crawl on the ground. I designed you to fly, and so the cocoon must be tight, dark, and long. And sometimes you think I have forgotten, but the cocoon is not abandonment, it is the chamber of strength. If I open the great door at the very moment you are weakest, it will not be a blessing, it will be a burden. An unhealed love would shatter more. An untrained calling would consume you. A responsibility without foundation would leave you gasping and doubting me. The surface may look beautiful, but your soul would lean toward the ground, not because you are bad, but because you are not yet strong. I do not give good things at the wrong time, because good at the wrong time becomes disaster. Do you remember I saw you lying on your bed, breathing heavily in the night? wondering why others moved so fast while you remained still. Your heart was not jealous, only tired and sad. Do you think I did not hear that sigh? I heard every breath. If I had let you sail into the wide sea when you were breathing with your last wind, you would have thought the great waters were your enemy. No ship sinks because the sea is evil. It sinks because it sailed too soon. There are seasons when I held your hand and said, "Do not open," and you thought I was removing opportunity. In reality, I was removing disaster. You will understand this on the day you stand in a new light and realize, had you entered then, your heart would have shattered into pieces. Breakage like that cannot always be healed in one lifetime. There are things beautiful but too heavy. There are people good but too demanding. There are opportunities radiant but carrying a fire that would burn the faith of a soul without roots. I do not let you enter only to lose you. You ask, "Then how long must I wait?" I answer with this: wait until you can fly. No longer afraid of heights. No longer trembling when the winds shift. No longer clinging to branches for balance. You will know the season has come, not when the door opens, but when your heart is no longer in haste, when waiting is no longer torture, but furnace, when you stop counting days and begin counting the beats of grace. When you stand in a small room with a great peace, that is when the great door will open without stealing your breath. I do not want you to live on spiritual adrenaline, dancing for miracles only to collapse afterward. I want you to have peace like breath, endurance like stone, lightness like a bird, strength like an unquenchable fire. You think strength is the muscle of the spirit, but true strength is the softness of a heart that knows how to rest in me. When your heart is soft, the door will be heavy and you will still open it, not by your own strength, but through companionship. A day will come when you will cover your face and say, "Lord, thank you for not opening that door," not because the door was bad, but because you were ready for something better. I did not refuse your blessing. I refused the smaller version of it. You thought I was taking, I was keeping. You thought I was delaying, I was protecting. You thought I was slow, I was waiting for you to become a butterfly, not a caterpillar. Butterflies do not measure time by clocks, but by strength in their wings. When the wings are ready, the cocoon opens by itself. No knocking, no forcing, no begging. You only need to be enough. And I am doing that in you, building strength, gathering blood, stretching the soul, teaching you to carry weight, teaching you to stand still while others run, because you will fly. And when you fly, you will not grow weary. One day, when you stand on the hill and look back, every closed door will become a song. You will no longer blame yourself, nor others, nor me. You will see love in every hinge. You will know, had I opened then, you would have broken. Had I opened then, you would have lost faith. Had I opened then, you would have lived but never flown. You do not yet see the whole picture, but I see from beginning to end. I see wings growing. I see light kindling in your eyes. I see the season drawing near. Stay in the cocoon until I call. When I open, you will not crawl out, you will fly out. There are nights when you do not want anyone to see you. When you quietly draw the curtains, turn off the lights, lie still, and let the tears fall without any clear prayer. You think you are weak, failing, lacking faith to form words. But in the spiritual realm, those nights are not empty. Every drop is a seed, not the seed of bitterness, but of wisdom and discernment. The best soil is not dry soil, but wet soil. Seeds only germinate in moisture. Your tears have made the soil of your heart soft and wet, so that what I sowed that night did not lie on stone, but went deep. No one sees that field. People only see the morning after rain. No one sees the seeds that split their shells in the night. You think you cried only to feel lighter, but I saw you watering a new season. I do not despise tears. I do not require you to be strong in performance. I saw others sleep peacefully while your eyes were red. I saw others laugh while you sighed. I missed not one drop. I caught each quiet drop as a gardener gathers night dew to keep the fields alive. When you turn restlessly and think, "Why does it still hurt?" I do not stand far. I stand close as breath, and I know pain is not the sign of ruin, but the sign of growth. Roots do not grow in cheerfulness. Roots grow in darkness, in moisture, in stillness. No one photographs roots, yet roots determine the tree. You thought you did nothing, but that night you sent seed into the earth. The psalm has said, "Those who sow in tears will reap in joy." This is not pretty poetry. This is spiritual law. Tears are water for the harvest of discernment, so that you will stop choosing blindly, so that you can see beyond appearance, so that you can distinguish good from best. You once said, "I wish I didn't have to hurt," but if you never hurt, you would never know depth. And if you never knew depth, you would not be able to tell the difference between what is merely shiny and what truly carries life. Every time you weep over a closed door, your soul learns another layer of sensitivity, not to make you suspicious, but to help you see with spiritual eyes. Not to harden you, but to soften you in the right places. You will come to realize not every sweet word is truth. Not every beauty is life. And not everyone who comes close is meant to walk with you. In the night, the most dangerous thing is not the darkness, but not knowing where you are going. Tears help your eyes grow clear again. Sometimes the tears are not about loss. They fall because I am washing your eyes. When your eyes are washed by pain, you see more clearly in the morning. Dawn is not just light. Dawn is the ability to see what night could not reveal. Night humbles you. Morning makes you wise. Tears are what tie those two together. That is why I do not rebuke you when you cry. I do not say, "Why are you so weak?" I say, "Let them fall." Because you are sowing. Your tears are tied to future wisdom. There will be decisions you avoid, not because you are afraid, but because you have already been wounded there. There will be hands you do not take, not because you are proud, but because you now know the cost. Wisdom does not come from books. It comes from wounds that have been healed. Discernment does not come from information. It comes from the night you fell and I was the one who lifted you. Pain pries your heart open, and when the heart opens, light slips in. That light is not loud. It is gentle, like the first line of dawn along a window frame. You do not hear a great sound, but your heart slowly brightens. There are mornings you rise and do not know why you are calmer, more trusting, less shaky than before. You assume time did the work, but time does not heal. I heal, and I have been doing it in the night when you thought I was silent. There are nights when the tears fall and I say nothing. You think I am distant, but I know this: if I speak before you are ready, my words will pass through without taking root. I wait for the soil to soften. I wait for the rain to soak in. I wait for your soul to stop resisting. When the soil is soft, I only need to sow one seed, and the season will come. Tears are not only sorrow. Tears are the place where I plant the seeds of glory. You will see this on the day you stand between two choices and suddenly know deep within, not this one, not because someone told you, but because your soul learned in the night. That is discernment. That is wisdom. That is the gift of your tears. One day you will cover your face and smile, because you will finally understand those nights were not wasted. They were nurseries. You sowed trust in the dark, and now you are reaping peace in the light. You sowed silent tears, and now you reap a joy that is not loud but deep. No one sees the seed split, they only see the tree. No one hears the roots, they only hear the leaves. But I see both. I hear both. And I promise you this, your tears are not useless. They are evidence that a harvest is near, a harvest in which you will see with different eyes, love with a different heart, choose with a different wisdom. You will know what is true and what is false. You will know the line between beauty and poison. You will not repeat the last season, because you have learned that lesson with your own tears. Honor the nights you have cried. You are not weak when you cry. You were sowing when no one was watching, and I saw. I kept record. I will repay you with a joy that cannot be shaken. There is something I want you to understand deeply. Delay does not kill you. It builds your frame. It makes your feet sure, your back straight, your breath steady, and your heart unshaken when the great door swings open. If everything came at the pace you wanted, you would walk in by excitement, but you would not stand by foundation. Adrenaline can push you through a door, but only a solid foundation can keep you in the room. I do not build your life on passing feelings. I build it with deep layers, with roots, with beams that can hold the weight of glory. That is why delay is not your enemy. Delay is your teacher. You once thought, if you love me, why don't you open it now? But it is precisely because I love you that I do not. Great things in the kingdom are not thrown onto feet that are not yet strong. A beautiful house on soft ground will collapse in a single storm. People admire the appearance of the house, but I look at the foundation. When I delay, I am not delaying blessing, I am delaying collapse. You ask me to open the door, but I am laying stone. You ask me for shortcuts, but I am digging deeper. You think I am quiet, but I am driving stakes into the ground. You hear nothing, but beneath the surface, construction is underway. Delay builds what haste can never buy: depth. Outward beauty may draw attention, but inner depth is what keeps you in your calling. When the wind blows, the tree with lush branches but shallow roots will fall first. The tree with fewer leaves but deep roots will stand. I see the winds not yet arrived, the storms not yet unleashed, the future weight you cannot yet measure. I am not building your life to survive one sunny season. I am building it to withstand all four. Your true beauty is not in the brief moment of blooming, but in your ability to stand firm in the storm. If I answered instantly every time you cried out, you would never learn how to stand in the quiet. If you stepped into great things the moment you felt thirst, you would assume success is proof, and when the waves came, you would panic. I have seen many rush through open doors and then collapse in exhaustion because they had no foundation. I do not want that for you. I do not want you to be someone who gets in, but cannot remain. I want you to be someone who enters and stays. Those who stay need a foundation, not just the fire of excitement. Delay does not make you weaker. It gives you weight in the right places. I add weight to your soul, not to drag you down, but so the wind cannot carry you away. You look up and think you are standing still, but you are not. Each day you wait. I lay another stone, Every complaint that turns into surrender places yet another stone. Every time you let go of illusions to hold on to, my promise, your foundation gains another layer. You think nothing is happening, but a house is being built, and when the time comes, you will see that your stability is not something you produced, but something I formed within you. I will open the door, and you will not dash through. You will step through, not because you are slow, but because you are sure, not because you are afraid, but because you are grounded. You will not need to compete, to impress, or to beg for recognition. Those with foundations do not fight for a place, they stand, and the place recognizes them. The door will not open because of how hard you knock, but because of the weight of your maturity. You once asked, "Why are you so slow?" And I answer with your own life. That slowness has been building something. Building what no one applauds when they see it, but everyone marvels at when it holds. A beautiful building may make people take pictures, but the foundation is what lets it endure. You cannot see the foundation, but I can. You cannot feel it, but it is precisely where you stand when everything shakes. That is why I am not in a hurry. I do not build with paper, I build with stone. I do not soothe you with lies. I use your own history to prove my faithfulness. Which long night did I carry you through? Which river did I bring you over? Which storm did I calm? Which tears did I wipe away? These are the very stones in your foundation. Delay also teaches you another kind of strength, the strength of gentleness. Those who rush often grow hard. Those who wait often grow soft. And spiritual strength is not in mental muscle, but in a tender heart that knows how to listen. You think waiting is weakness, but waiting rightly is strength. You think standing still is useless, but standing on rock is victory, while others chase the noise. You stand in the quiet, and in that quiet, I am laying foundation. One day, when people ask for your secret, you will simply say, "I waited." When the door opens in my appointed time, you will not enter exhausted. You will not tremble. You will not be consumed with doubt. You will not need to hold yourself together every day. The foundation will hold you. When others tell you, "Hold on to this opportunity," you will smile and say, "If the opportunity came from him, I do not have to hold it, it will hold me." You will walk by peace, not by fear of missing out. Those who have foundations do not fear being late, because they know a door opened in the right time is never too late. You may not see this yet. You may feel that everything is slower than you wish, that others are moving ahead, that your dreams are being delayed. But like a house built on rock, what is built slowly will stand long. What comes quickly will leave quickly. I am not building a season. I am building a life. I am not preparing you for a moment. I am preparing you for a journey. And that journey needs a foundation. When the door opens, it will be the foundation that says to you, "Now." Not excitement, not fear, not pressure, but a deep knowing in your soul. Delay will not kill you. Delay is what keeps you alive. You will thank me for those days, for those weeks, for those years, not because you enjoy slowness, but because you love to stand firm. One day you will look back and know I did not take opportunities from you. I simply did not allow opportunities to crush you. I did not miss your blessing. I was building a house where your blessing could remain. I am laying stones, one by one, slow, deep, solid, and that is why you will not collapse when the great door opens. There will come a day when the door opens, not because you knocked hard enough, not because you kept knocking long enough, not because you proved yourself worthy. It will open because I have appointed the time. Just as the sun does not argue with the darkness to rise, does not ask the mountains permission to appear, does not need anyone's applause to blaze, it simply shows up at its hour. You will stand before that door and realize something very gentle and very profound. It is not that you became brilliant, not that you became smarter than yesterday, not that you finally mastered the formula. It is that I have said, the time has come. In that moment, you will find your heart no longer trembling the way it did before. No more fear of missing out. No more scanning the faces of others. No more comparing yourself with anyone. You will not step in with the gasping breath of someone who has been racing against time, but with the steady breath of someone who has learned to stand still in waiting. The slow days behind you were not punishment. They were training in peace. And peace will be the armor you wear when the great door opens, so that you do not shake under the weight of the light. When the door opens, you will recognize this. You did not force it. You did not manipulate it. You are not more deserving than anyone else. It did not open because of your resume, but because I wrote the story before time began. The highest glory in that moment will not be success, but humility. You will know all is grace. You will step in without thinking you must sustain it by your own strength, because what is opened by grace will also be kept by grace. In past seasons, there were moments when you thought, if I just try a little harder, maybe it will open. You were not wrong in your longing, but you misunderstood power. Heaven's door does not open because you are strong enough. It opens because I have set the hour. Not 1 second early, not 1 second late. And that day will come not with the noise of fireworks, but with the certainty of sunrise, not hurried, not delayed, not tense. The light will pour in so naturally that you will be surprised. Why was I ever afraid? Because when what I have ordained arrives at its time, it comes with peace, not drama. You will notice something strange when the door opens. You will not have to fight for a place. Those who fight for a place are those who do not yet know they belong. But you will not strive, because your heart will already know I have invited you. You are not entering a strange room. You are stepping into the space I have prepared. What you do is receive, not seize. You receive with gratitude, not arrogance. You receive with peace, not with the fear that it will vanish in an instant. What I give is not fragile, because the foundation has gone deep. Your glory will not be in the applause of people, but in the light I shine upon your face. It will not make you proud, it will make you bow. For you will look around and know you are not here because you are flawless, but because I am faithful. You do not stand here because you never failed, but because I have gathered every failure and turned it into a lesson. You did not open this door with your achievements, but with my favor. There are others who have also stood before this door. Some ran ahead and flung their arms at the hinges, trying to force them. Some walked away, convinced it would never open. Some grew weary and chose another door easier, but smaller. But you remained. You waited. You did not leave when the night grew long. You let your tears water the seed. You let delay build the foundation. And so, when the door opens, you will step in as one who is sent, not as someone who stumbled in by accident. That difference lies in the soul. On that day, your heart will whisper, not me, but the Lord, and that whisper will not be bitter, not self-erasing, not crushing your sense of worth. It will be joy, The joy of someone who finally understands I have always been led. I was never forgotten. I never needed to wrestle the future out of anyone's hand, because the future was already held. That humility will not make you smaller, it will make you shine. Glory clothed in humility is like the sunrise. No one sees it striving, yet everyone sees it shining. In the moment the door opens, you will understand what I used to whisper in the night. Trust me. You once thought trust meant being fierce, being bold, being loud. Now you will know that trust is peace in my hands, letting me lead. You no longer need to know every detail, because you have seen the one who guides. You will step in not with suspicion, not with pride, but with an open heart, open to receive, open to pour out, open to serve. And this is the strangest part: when the door opens, you will not feel the need to prove anything. When grace is the reason, proof is no longer necessary. You do not need to compete, to rush, to build an image. You only need to be faithful, to be genuine, to be present. The door is not open because you are perfect, but because I am perfect. If anyone asks, "What did you do to get here?" you will simply smile. Your answer will not be a list of accomplishments, but 3 words. Light as a breath, I set the time. Those 3 words will be your song, your freedom, your strength. Because when you understand that I set the time, you no longer fear time. You no longer fear being slow. You no longer fear being late. You no longer fear age, or timing, or others going ahead. You only know the sun always rises at its appointed hour. And when your sun rises, nothing can stop it. On the day the door opens, you will not look back in bitterness, but in gratitude. You will understand why every previous door was closed, not because you were less, but because you were kept, not because you lacked, but because you were being prepared, not because I was harsh, but because I was kind. I kept the door shut so your soul would not break. I kept time slow so your roots could go deep. I allowed the night to stretch long so the dawn could be brilliant. When you step through, your steps will be light, yet sure, not staggering, not jittery, not rushed. You will walk as one who knows they are sent, and the voice within you will sing, "It is not that I am good, but that the Lord is good." That is the glory of humility. That is the strength of the one who believes. That is the grace of the one who is loved. When you pass through the door that is opened, you will discover a truth you once only understood in theory. No power can lock what I intend to give. No human word, no mocking opinion, no skeptical glance, no old sentence in memory, no failure from the past. When I decide to open, no hand is strong enough to hold shut. Revelation 3:7 has said it long ago. What I shut, no one opens. What I open, no one shuts. Every soul that belongs to me is held within a strange security. Blessing does not come from human approval, and it cannot be taken away by their rejection. Light does not ask darkness for permission to shine. It simply rises. You will see this in your own life. There were times you feared what others might think, feared they would not understand, feared they would gossip or judge. But when I open the door, that fear falls from your shoulders like an old coat. You no longer need to explain, to persuade, or to prove. Grace arrives with a free spaciousness. What you carry is no longer heavy, because the weight is not something you bear alone, it is something I bear upon my shoulders. You cross not by effort, but by light. There were voices that once made you hesitate, But now they become distant echoes with no weight, not because they have disappeared, but because you have stepped beyond their reach. You were never meant to shrink yourself to fit the expectations of others. You were meant to unfold according to the image I placed in you. That is why when the door opens, you do not only receive blessing, you carry blessing. You do not merely enter, you arrive with light. And that light does not need to be welcomed to shine. It shines, because that is its nature. You will see this in relationships, in work, in calling where I open. You do not need to compete, to plead, or to seize. You simply are, and your presence, held in me, becomes testimony. People may discuss, but discussion cannot lock what I have opened. Opinions may change, but opinions cannot alter my intention. You will feel a lightness in your chest, as though invisible cords have fallen away. There is no one you need to prove yourself to. You do not step in to be respected. You step in because I have called. Respect is merely the reflection of reality, not the goal you chase. The things that once made you doubt yourself, criticism, cold glances, memories of failure, no longer hold you, not because they vanish from memory, but because I stand between them and your soul. Every other voice becomes small when I speak, and I have spoken, I open. There. Freedom is no longer the struggle to keep, and spaciousness is no longer shrinking yourself to fit. No one can lock what I have opened, but most wondrous of all, not even you can. For my intention is stronger than your hesitation. When my light pours in, you will feel light not because there is no responsibility, but because the responsibility is no longer carried by your own strength. You carry light, not burden. You do not wear a mask of courage. You carry the essence of courage. You do not strain, you stand. People may speculate about motives, but light does not argue. It simply illuminates. When I open the door, the light will find a home, and that home is you. No power can lock what I give. No power can stop you when I call. And this sets your soul free. You do not need to fight with people. You only need to be faithful to me. When faithfulness is the goal, peace is the result. When the door opens, your shoulders no longer hunch. You no longer hurry. You no longer fear. You walk lightly not because you are weak, but because I am your strength. The light you carry needs no trumpet, yet it cannot be hidden. For light always finds a way. Fulfillment does not arrive with thunder, but with a quiet light that covers the mind. One ordinary morning, you open your eyes and realize your heart is different, no longer resentful of the years that closed, no longer asking, why not? No longer aching over what did not happen. Your heart stands on new ground. And from there you see clearly what was once missed. I closed doors to keep you from losing yourself. Every disappointment becomes a fence of love. Every refusal becomes evidence of care. Every season of waiting becomes deep roots. You stand in the present and look back not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Grateful that I did not give what you thought you needed. Grateful that I allowed you to cry, to learn, to grow strong. Grateful that closed doors were blessings in disguise. There were days you thought, if only I had been allowed to enter, if only that relationship had remained, if only that road had opened, if only that plan had succeeded. But in the season of fulfillment, if only is no longer lament, it becomes praise. You understand if it had happened. Your soul would have carried a weight I never wanted for you. You would have walked at the pace of others rather than mine. You would have bound yourself to expectations that did not belong to your destiny. I withheld, not because you were lesser, but because you were set apart. When fulfillment opens, you realize that what you thought was loss was actually release. What fell from your hands was not bread, but rubble. What you were not allowed to keep was not treasure, but rope. In this season, you see the delicate link between the days you cried and the days you smile. Not the smile of pretense, but the smile of understanding. You look at the canvas of your life and see my brushstrokes everywhere. In the moments you thought I was silent, I was placing each stone in exactly the right place. In the moments you thought I was distant, I was holding you so close that you could not even feel the outline of yourself. You asked why the long detours, and now you see the detour was the safe way. Direct is not always good. Fast is not always right. Some shortcuts lead into deep ravines you would never have noticed until I had already led you across another peak. Fulfillment does not make you jump, it makes you quietly beautiful. You no longer run after noise. You are no longer swept up by glittering invitations. You no longer fear missing out. When grace becomes the air, you breathe easier. You enter each day with a different posture, light, yet deep. Peace within you is a peace with weight. It is not a forced smile, but a stillness with authority. You begin to understand that what I withheld was not blessing, but timing, and timing is blessing. When this season comes, you suddenly understand why each hinge closed. Not because I wanted you outside, but because I wanted you at the right door. There are doors that, if you had entered too soon, your heart would have torn. There are people who, if you had stayed longer, your soul would have dried. There are opportunities that looked beautiful yet carried venom within. You wept when you lost them. But today you smile because you see, I saved you from the very things you once prayed to keep. The season of fulfillment teaches you this truth. I know what you do not. I see what you cannot. No tear has ever been wasted. No waiting has ever been pointless. No closed door has ever been a mistake. Everything has been held within a rhythm of love. In this season, you no longer look at life with eyes that have been wounded, but with eyes washed clean by tears. Wisdom does not come from smooth success. It comes from wounds that have been healed. And now you look at everything with a different vision. I am working for you, even when you do not understand. Not to make you the most comfortable right now, but to make you the strongest for the long run. The season of fulfillment carries with it a strange gratitude for every closed door. You no longer ask, why not? You simply breathe. Thank you for not. Thank you for keeping me from what I thought I wanted. Thank you for not letting my desperate prayers turn into disaster. Thank you for loving me enough to say no. That love is not weak. It is strong like a wall against the night wind. It is steady like a hand resting on a door. It is light as my breath over your head when you sleep. In the season of fulfillment, your heart no longer trembles before the future. You have seen one thing: I have never abandoned you. You understand why I closed. You understand why I delayed. You understand why I was silent. The answer is not found in logic. It is found in the embrace. I held you to keep you from being swept into the storm. I built walls so the poisonous wind could not enter. I led you through the dark so the dawn within you would not go out. And now, when the door opens, you know everything had purpose. The season of fulfillment makes you grow in humility. You no longer push the hinge with your own hands. You wait for the call. When I say go, you go. When I say stay, you stay. No more striving. No more chaos. No more fear. Everything feels as light as breath. Every step steady. Every decision not made from panic, but from trust. Trust is not a concept. Trust is a condition of the heart. You understand why I closed. And you understand that every closed door was a chapter completed, not a curse. Fulfillment is not a reward for patience. It is the fruit of transformation. You are different. You are deeper. You are gentler. You are stronger. And because you have changed, the open door no longer threatens you. It does not overwhelm you. It does not make you rush. You step forward with gratitude, not with fear. You step with light, not with shadows. Fulfillment is when your soul stands before what I have appointed and says, "Now I understand. You closed to save me. You closed so that I could live." Thank you for listening to this message today. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications so we can receive the living word together. Strengthen our faith and walk in the boundless love of the Lord. Amen.